I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're entering the captivating world created by Chance Parker Knight in his new novel, Never Walk Alone. He immerses us in a story filled with love, spirituality, and supernatural elements while navigating complex issues like LGBTQ plus representation, the intersection of sexuality and religion, and the importance of authenticity. His protagonist, Charlie, isn't your average, ordinary teenager. He can talk to the dead, and his extraordinary summer encounter with a century-old ghost named William sparks profound personal discoveries. We're delighted to have Chance join us today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Prime 7 Media for helping us put him in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support writers like him by subscribing to our channel. Chance, thanks so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure is all mine. Let's start out with the big picture. What's your book all about? Let's give the folks at home an overview.
So the book is about a 16-year-old in Savannah, Georgia. He has the ability to see and communicate with spirits or those that have passed on before us. He is a young gay man, and he's trying to kind of navigate his world, not only with his sexuality, but with his influence on religion, because his father is the pastor of the local community church, and they live in, the little rectory of the church there. And so he's grown up in the church, grown up around religion. And so that's something that he struggles to reconcile within himself is what he hears of some spirituality or some organized religions versus what he's feeling on the inside, not just with the sexuality, but his ability to, communicate with the dead.
Mm. It's tough enough for a teenager dealing with, identity issues, but also to have this extraordinary power kind of makes it even more complex, which is what makes your book wonderful, because it is complex, it's multi-layered, and it addresses many important subjects. I think from your background, I was reading a little bit that you were raised in a small southern town as well.
Not quite southern, but
Okay.
yes, a very small town. When we moved here, I was in first grade,
Mm-hmm.
and I went all through, elementary, junior, and high school here. When we moved here in '94, I think the town had a population of under 7,000.
Mm-hmm.
So if that kind of gives a good picture there. And yeah, when I was growing up, I was a total bookworm. I loved school. I loved learning. Um, and one of the things that I was always searching for was adequate representation of myself in media. There were no books about young queer children.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there were no books that dealt with them as the main characters. Sometimes we got like sidekicks, like the fun, goofy, gay sidekick,
Right.
but the story was never about those characters themselves. And I thought that that was really important and something that I was significantly missing and searching for when I was growing up and cultivating my love of books and literature.
Definitely. It's great to have a hero you can relate to. And your hero in this book is very relatable to children or young people of any gender or any sexual orientation. But like you said, in particular,
Yes.
it hits home with somebody who's grappling with their sexual identity as well. One of the things you've
Yes.
done in your book that I like very much is that you bridged sexuality and religion. They're often conflicting aspects. Tell us a little
Yes.
bit about your inspiration behind this and the challenges exploring such a complex intersection.
Well, that particular piece of the book is very important to me personally because I did grow up in a small town church,
Mhm.
and there were a lot of conflicting ideals. And especially when I got to the point where I was, 12 and 13 years old, and going through puberty and going through discovering who I was and what I liked, I was in a contradiction to my church, to the community that I had been such a part of and grown up in for, 7, 8, 10 years. And I then had to step out and find what worked for me, especially on the spirituality front. I am a very spiritual person. I am a dreamer and pretty, whimsical. And um, to to be so abruptly separated from my sense of spirituality and my sense of what I, had been told my entire life was correct, and having to go out and find an establishment that was accepting, that still allowed me to worship God, and know that God made me the way that I'm supposed to be, and it's not something that's shameful or anything like that. So that was something else that I really wanted to focus on, was that aspect for younger people that are maybe going through the same thing that I went through, that, they have all these people that have told them that they love them and God loves them and we're together in this. And then we're not together in it anymore when you grow up a little bit and you don't fit into what their mold of a good human is, I guess.
Yeah, very, very interesting. I love the fact that Charlie could communicate with the dead. I think it's interesting, particularly in Savannah. There's some kind of
Yes.
like a spiritual connection, I think, in Savannah between the living and the dead. It's that
Yes.
kind of almost like the the midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil kind of
Yes.
feel about the city. Tell us a little bit why you developed that, what was your inspiration, and how you think it helps further your narrative.
I discovered Savannah completely by accident. My husband and I were driving up to Philadelphia to visit some family up there, from Tampa, where we used to live.
Mhm.
And um, we caught some bad weather and it slowed our trip down. And we ended up having to spend a night in Georgia. And we stopped and found a place right outside of Savannah. And the next morning, the weather had cleared, and we got up and decided to go down and have breakfast in the city. And I just immediately fell in love with it. I fell in love with the architecture, the history, the connection between that city and the supernatural or the spiritual. It's just totally by accident. And then we made it a point to come back several times because I decided I needed to write a book about Savannah, Georgia. So,
Awesome. Well, it's a great place to do research. It's one of my favorite cities. I used to be a news reporter in Atlanta, so we used to cover Savannah quite a
okay.
bit. Yeah, when
Yeah.
we would cover the storms, hurricanes coming ashore, we'd go down to Tybee Island and Savannah a
Yes.
little bit. So it was a great area. It is very inspirational, and it's great for a writer to be in a place like that. Tell
Yes.
me about turning this into a film or a movie or a series. Have you thought about that at all?
I have. I think that it would be a really wonderful film adaptation, either in series or kind of one, movie by
Mhm.
itself. But I do think that it is written in a way that would be very easy to bring it to television or um, film. So that would be a dream come true for
Yeah,
sure.
great locations, cool story, cool
Yeah.
characters, unique situations. I think it is definitely a must make. Hollywood, if you're listening, let's turn this
Yes.
into a movie. Let's turn it into a series. Before we leave you today, Chance, anything else you'd like the audience to know?
Just to stay strong and be yourself, and you will be surprised at what you are able to accomplish when you are away from the situation and look back on it.
Yeah.
Just stay true.
One of the news reports, my son is also a TV news reporter, and he was doing a report or researching a report called Transitioning to High School. And it was taking a look at people who were transitioning to a different gender while going into high
Hmm.
school. Do you think things are much better for kids today than they were when you were in high school?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I say that now because I do have a job where I work with disadvantaged youth
Mhm.
in the same community that I grew up in. I do have a lot of LGBTQ plus kids on my caseload,
Mhm.
more than I would have ever thought would have ever been in this particular town. And communicating with them, especially at a high school level. One of the kids on my caseload is on the board of the LGBTQ High School Alliance in my local high school, and that is not something that I ever even dreamed they would have or would be a thing that they would even consider. So to see such change and such dramatic acceptance in this community just in the last 15 years is just it's beautiful.
I agree. 100%. There's been accelerated change in the way we view gender, sexuality, identity, and it's all for the good because a
Yes.
lot of people struggled. A lot of people felt they
Yes.
weren't accepted. A lot of people felt like they had to walk alone. And your
Mm.
book points out they don't have to. The name of the book is Never Walk Alone. It is written by Chance Parker Knight. He has created an incredible story that grapples with issues of religion, spirituality, sexuality. He has put it in a wonderful environment, Savannah, Georgia, and he has given his main character, Charlie, an extraordinary gift, the gift to communicate with the dead. This is a book you won't want to put down. Chance, thanks so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure, Logan. Thank you.
Pleasure is all mine, my friend. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.